Hello, this is an Astroneer experiment video where I try out an idea and see what happens. Today, we're going to try and drive to another planet. The reason I decided to do this video is that I found a bug that if you get into a shuttle near the starting platform at a specific distance, the exclamation point on the platform actually stays there permanent. So even if you go off planet, even if you travel someplace else, you can still see that exclamation point. A lot of you may be wondering at this point why the exclamation point is in the middle of space and not on a planet. Well, it turns out that the planets that you see in the sky when you're on any planet are part of the skybox and not the actual location where those planets are. For my first attempt, I built a rover with a paver and a drill on the front of it, and I just pointed myself at the actual exclamation point and started off. This proved to be pretty slow going, so I decided to add some hydrazine thrusters to pick up the pace a little bit. At this point, I'd like to point out that other people have tried to drive to planets before this. Specifically, Z1 Gaming did a nice job on this, but that was over 2 years ago, and we've had the automation update as well as a bunch of improvements to the game to make it run more smoothly. So I wanted to see what the behavior was now. And now back to attempt number 1. Since this was my first attempt, I basically left the thrusters on continuously, which made it go very fast, but the second I hit a bump, it basically threw me off target, and then I was stuck. There wasn't a lot I could do to recover from this situation, so this was my first time trying to drive off planet, so mistakes were made. And then I decided to just use the thrusters and fly off and see if I could get there. Again, I'm just constantly thrusting with those thrusters, so after this point, it has some issues with the camera following the actual vehicle, and it was very difficult to see where I was going and where I wanted to point to. And so this is me just trying to find, what I'm oriented in and the where the actual exclamation is. If you're not careful, the camera gets really messed up at this point. So I finally decided to call it and onto attempt number 2. For attempt number 2, I decided to get some practice in and try and drive into the skybox. So as I said before, the skybox is different than the actual location of the planets. It's basically just a quick rendering some distance away so that you get the illusion of planetary rotation. Usually it's not solid, but that's what this attempt was designed to find out. So this attempt went a lot better than the previous one. I was using the thrusters in short bursts so that I had much more control over my angle and where I was going. But as you can see here, the ground changes color, and at that point I lose traction, and there's no way to control the vehicle. The vehicle is effectively free floating. So I got stuck and decided to use the thrusters to reach the planet. So after a little finagling, we finally got ourselves pointed at the planet, and here we go into the skybox. Is it solid? It is not! This is an interesting look inside a skybox planet. So for skyboxes, A lot of the times, designers basically want it to look good from afar, but don't usually need to make it look good up close because you're not supposed to be here. And again, it's usually not solid, or you don't really need it to. You don't need to take the effort to make it solid because nobody's supposed to be here. So this is a fun look within the planet. After going through that planet, I still had relatively good control of the vehicle, so I decided, hey, why not go see another planet? Let's keep this going. Let's keep going in the skybox and see what we can do. So I launched all the way to Kalendor, and here is that. Going through the second planet in one run. Again, it isn't solid, but it's very interesting to see how they're put together. And so we've gone through 2 planets in one vehicle launch. One of the things I haven't seen in any other video is actually going through the sun. So I figured I'd try that at this point. When traveling there, I accidentally knocked over my shuttle and figured, hey, what's it look like when you launch a shuttle sideways? So here's that. I did the Sunrun from Atrox because that's closest to the sun. Here we go, starting this up. It's very similar to the previous runs in that at some point the ground changes color and I lose control of the vehicle. But I've gotten a lot of practice now, so I can angle ourselves towards the sun. And here we go into the sun. And it just disappears. So this is what's inside the sun. It's pretty anticlimactic. On to driving to the actual location of another planet. This run started the same way as the first run, where I used the starting platform trick to permanently create an exclamation point. I then landed on DeSolo, pointed myself at the exclamation, and started off this run. The beginning of this run is pretty standard. You drive, you thrust, and eventually the ground changes color, you lose all traction, and then it's all about angling your thrusters towards the point where you want to go. So there is a key difference between this and the other test that I did. As you can see coming up in a second, you'll see a camera flip. And there it is. So this is something new that didn't happen before. There was a camera flip, and it seems like I'm now angling downwards towards the exclamation point instead of upwards, thrusting upwards towards it versus falling downwards. Camera goes a bit wonky, and seems like we hit something. A little more thrusting. We're going through the air. Oh, objects. There's objects. We're on ground. We're on ground. We're driving. There's something here and we're driving. I'm going to keep going towards the exclamation point, but it seems like we're on the ground. The ground is not being drawn in, but we can see trees. We can see resource objects, research samples. We can drive. I seem to have hit something. Oh, there were some invisible trees. And we're still driving towards the exclamation. Doing a bit of digging. Yeah, we're next to stuff. Oh, I can see getting closer. There's the starting shelter. We are now at the starting shelter. You can see completely through the ground. It's not drawing in. Oh, the ground is solid. I can walk on it. We're moving around. It's the starting base. It's the starting platform. It's the starting launcher, and we can, let's see, can we open stuff? We can open stuff. It's working out. We're on the planet. We have driven back to Silva. Let's try reloading the world and see where we end up. Oh, and we are back on the planet. Everything's loaded in. The ground has loaded in. It looks normal. let's see if we can interact with anything. So we can fly around. There seems to be resources. There's actual resources here. We didn't see those when we were invisible, when the ground was invisible, and we can collect it. It seems like everything's acting normal. We can get some organic there. Yeah, we are back on the planet. Everything's working normally. We have driven to another planet. So, in summary, can you drive to another planet? Yes, you can, but it's not where you think it is. You're going to have to find some sort of marker to drive to the actual location of the planet rather than its location in the skybox, because the skybox is not where it is. And once you get there, you're going to have to reload the world in order to see the ground. And that's it for trying to drive to another planet. Thank you for watching.